mathematical uh, definition of normal distribution. So that is, if x is a random variable with a mean mu and a variance of sigma squared, then the equation of the normal curve is given by 1 over the population standard deviation multiplied by the square root of 2 times pi times e raised to negative 1 half times x minus mu divided by sigma quantity squared. So take note that the random variable x can take any value from negative infinity up to positive infinity. So basta daw yung, kunwari, meron kayong 100 information and you want to test that if it will uh, represent a normal distribution. So you have to compute for the mean and the variance. Then you will assume certain value po. So dito, paano pag ang value ay, kunwari, sa isang examination? So kung ang IQ score, ang average sa isang IQ ay makakuha ka ng 85 at ang standard deviation noon, let's say, ay 10. So, or 15. So, let's say 15 siya. So, kung ako ay merong IQ score na 120, saan kaya ako kabilang na mga grupo? So, pwedeng ganun yung paggamit ng normal distribution. Pang ilan? So, sa lahat ng nagtitake ng IQ scores, pang ilan ako doon sa mga yun. So, kung may 1,000 na test takers at sinabi na ang ranking mo or yung percentage ng 120 na IQ score ay pang 80 or 80%. So, ibig sabihin yan, 80% ng distribution, mas mataas yung nakuha kong IQ score sa kanila. So, one of the uses, another concept is, kung gusto mong alamin, kunwari, kung ano yung chances na makakuha ng mas mababang value, mas mataas na value, or yung values na nasa pagitan ng isang boundaries po, so pwede rin natin gamitin yung normal distribution. So ano po ba yung properties ng normal curve? So ang normal curve daw po ay makikita natin as a bell-shaped or a mound-shaped curve. So para siyang hill, parang mountain. So, ganito po yung itsura ng isang normal distribution. So another properties is that the mode, which is the point in the horizontal axis where the curve is maximum, occurs at x is equivalent to mu. So, kaya natin na so for a while lang ay gumana. So, yung sinasabi dun sa proper number 2, ganito lang po. So, diba yung curve, parang kung nag-take kayo ng, or familiar kayo sa konsepto ng maxima and minima sa calculus. So, may mga point of inflection na tinatawag. So, sa isang curve na yan, so ito yung makikita natin as a peak. So, nandyan yung maxima na kinoconsider natin. So, kung nasaan daw yung peak nung atin pong distribution, pag trinace mo daw yan doon sa ating horizontal axis, ang value daw ng mode ay value din ng mean. So, ang sinasabi lang ng property number 2, lahat po ng measures of central tendency ay magkakatulad ang value pagdating sa normal distribution. So, kung ang mean ay 10, it follows na yung median, yung mode, ay 10 din po ang value. So, kaya, mas madaling tuusin or mas madaling mag-identify pag normally distributed yung information. So, truly na normally distributed siya, hindi approximated. Kasi pag sinabi na ina-approximate lang natin na normal yung distribution, hindi po na tayo nakakasigurado na iisa yung location ng mean and median and mode. So, may mga pagkakataon na pag approximation yung pinag-uusapan malalapit lang pala yung mga values na yun, yung tatlong measures of central location. So, ayan. So for number 3, the curve is symmetric about a vertical axis through mean. So yung kanina pong pinakita ko sa inyo na uh, nahati or hinati sa gitna. So pag tayo daw po ay nag-divide ng value or ng distribution doon sa position ng mean, nagiging symmetric daw po ang distribution. So ibig sabihin yan, yung portion, yung laki ng value sa left side ay equivalent po dun sa value na meron sa right side. So, kung yung property number 5 ito, ang nakalagay po doon is yung area daw po ng isang normal distribution ay equivalent sa 1 or 100%. So, since dinivide natin sa exactly in the middle, so that means yung 50%, yung one half or other half of the distribution will reflect 50% of the dataset. So same thing po, yung nasa kanan, ang totality of information is also 50%. So kung makikita nyo, this is the actual percentage po per one standard deviation distance about the mean. So it implies, ganito po yan. So kung ang mean ang nasa middle value, pag tinanong kayo, ano yung percentage ng area or ano yung area under one standard deviation away from the mean. So, pwede pong ang tingnan nyo ay yung pakanan or pakaliwa kasi magkatulad lang naman yung value na yun. So, one standard deviation, ito po yun. Ito yung i-consider nyo na line hanggang doon or ang reference nyo yung mean. So, yung size po nun, ang magiging sagot lang natin is 34.13%. So, yung value na 34.13% po ay kinoconsider natin as a probability. So, number 4, the normal curve approaches the horizontal axis asymptotically as we proceed in either direction away from the mean. So, ang isang asymptotic characteristic ng normal curve, it tells you about the concept that this one. So, as you can see here, ito yung ating x-axis. Ito po, yung medyo mag-gray dyan. So, ang mangyayari daw po, kung i-extend natin yung tail ends ng ating normal curve, so, lalapit lang daw yung value na yun. Yung curve na yun. Lumalapit lang, nag-approach lang sa horizontal axis, but it will never intersect. So, parang, pagdating sa mga numbers, so let's say, 0.9999. So, kahit pahabain mo ng pahabain, dagdagan mo ng dagdagan yung decimal value niya ng 9, never siya magiging exactly 1. So, hindi natin pwedeng sabihin na yung 0.999999 is equivalent to 1. Pero we can tell that 0.99999999 is approximately equal to 1. So, same thing with the concept of asymptotic. So, lumalapit lang, pero hindi nagiging exact. So, yun nga po, yung fifth property natin is that the total area under the curve is equal to 1 or to 100. So, clear po tayo kung ano yung mga properties ng normal curve. Malinaw po ba? I think naman, pero clear naman po. Okay. So, try to answer this. So, suppose we have a population of 10,000 IQ scores. So, the distribution is normally shaped with a mean of 100 and a standard deviation of 16. So, what are the possible IQ scores? So, ito yung binabanggit kanina, na pagdating sa normal distribution, ang importanteng characteristic na dapat laging given ay yung mean at ang standard deviation. So, kasi, basta given to, yung mga possible values of x po, kaya nating computin. So let's go back po doon sa ating so note lang natin that the mean is 100, the standard deviation. Ah, 60. Ayan po. So, 116. So, ang gagawin lang natin, ito pong mga nakalagay na dyan na baseline value will be your guide. So, you just have to evaluate kung ano yung operation na included doon. So, yung parang letter O, again dyan, yung sigma, that is the value for the standard deviation. So, that means, in the normal distribution, yung 100 na value, ilalagay ko at the center of the distribution. So, pwedeng i-evaluate nyo muna going to the left or going to the right. So, let's start with this. So, yung mu minus 1 sigma, so yun po ay 100 minus 1 standard deviation, so 1 times 16. So, once you evaluated this, we have 100 minus 16 is 84. So, ganun din po, 100 minus 2 sigma naman. So, 2 standard deviation, yung distance niya away from the mean. So, this is 68. Then we have here 52. So, dun naman sa pakanan, so 100 plus 16 is 116. 100 plus 32 is 132. And 100 plus 48 is 148. So, to answer this question po, so you just have to state that the IQ score or the possible scores, IQ scores, ranges from 52 to 148. So, hindi nyo po iisa-isahin nyo na baka ang gawin ninyo ay sabihin na ang value po 52, 68, 84, 100, 116, 132, and 148. So, mali po yun. Yung mga numbers na yan ay mga baseline, mga boundaries. Depende dun sa layo, sa distance na pinapakita ng standard deviation. So, may mga values po in between dyan. Kaya, inilalagay natin siya in some sort of interval. So, ayan yung ating sagot. So, clear po dito sa paggamit ng mga baseline values.
Yes po, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Opo.
Ayan. So, ngayon, diba kanina medyo nakakatakot yung formula. Kasi, ayun, before we can evaluate that formula, we have to use integration processes. So, ngayon, para mas madali yung pagtutuos natin, gumagamit po tayo ng aspeto ng standard normal distribution. So, panote na lang ito kasi hindi po ito kasama sa PowerPoint presentation. So, ang standard normal distribution po is a modification of the general normal distribution. Kasi yung general normal distribution, walang specific value for the mean. So, it really depends on the data gathered. But in the aspect of standard normal distribution, kahit anong data po yung mag-gather natin, ang assumption natin about the mean is that it is equivalent to 0 and the standard deviation is equivalent to 1. So ngayon, dahil sa ganitong klase ng konsepto, nagkaroon po tayo ng concept of the standard score. So ito po ay tinatawag or kinikilala rin as a linear transformation of a certain distribution. So, kasi kino-convert natin yung mga raw scores po into z-scores. Kaya siya linear transformation. So, a z-score is a transform score that designates how many standard deviation units the corresponding raw score is above or below the mean. So, the formulas were given below. So, for the population standard score, we have Z is equivalent to X is equivalent to, or Z is equivalent to X minus mu, divided by sigma. And for the sample counterpart, we have x minus sample mean over sample standard deviation. So ito din po yung concept ng measures of relative dispersion na inaral or diniscuss natin dati. So ganitong konsepto rin lang yung papasok sa standard score. Kaso nga lang, hindi natatapos dun sa pagko-convert ng data. So tinitingnan natin kung ang z-score kunwari ay 2, ano yung katumbas niya na probability or ano yung katumbas na area na dinidescribe noon. So, to determine the probability, we have to follow the following rules po. So, for number one, if the statement is to determine the area to the left of Z po, all you have to do is to refer or to use the table. So, refer to the table. Basta ang illustration, less than, to the left, smaller value. So, yan yung titingnan. Walang computation pagdating po sa less than na aspect. Pero pag greater than na yung hinahanap, probability of Z that is greater than A, so it is expressed as 1 minus probability of Z less than A. Then, if we have to consider certain interval po, so that is probability of Z greater than A sub 1 but less than A sub 2. So that is expressed as probability of Z less than A sub 2 minus probability of Z less than A sub 1. So let's apply those rules po in the following illustration. So find the area of the following z-score. So for letter A, we have to the left of Z is equivalent to 1.25. So A is equivalent, A, so left of Z is equivalent to negative 1.25. So it's a very important that we know how to represent this value in the context or in the illustration of the normal distribution. So first thing is, we express this kung naka-indicate po dun sa problem na to the left po siya. So, ang pag-express natin, yung statement na yan, in a mathematical way, is that we have probability of Z. So, since yun yung value natin, is less than negative 1.25. So, kung ganyan natin siya inilalagay sa aspeto ng mathematical expression, so we have to apply rule number 1. So, sa table lang tayo mag-check. So, lagay muna natin yung illustration. Let's say this is our normal distribution. So, tandaan, ang standard normal distribution po ay mayroong mean na 0. So, dito po nag-represent yung Z. So, ngayon, pag i-graph mo yan, nasa gitna yung 0, ilolocate mo muna yung number na ibinigay. So, that is negative 125. So, pag negative yung value, nasa kaliwa nung 0. Then, anong yung portion na kailangan yung shadean yan? So, nakadepende po doon sa direction na binibigay sa problem. So, since this is left of Z is equivalent to negative 1.25, so from the tail ends of the normal distribution up to the value of negative 1.25, yan po yung mako-cover natin. Yun yung hahanapan natin ng area po. So, to determine the area, so check lang po natin yung ating normal distribution. Yan. So, Sa paggamit po ng normal distribution, ang una nyo pong titingnan muna ay yung first two digit, yung whole number at saka po yung first decimal value ng atin pong z-score. So, we have here negative 1.2. Ito po muna. Tapos, yung kadugtong yan, yung nasa hundredths digit po, doon nyo po makikita sa first row ng ating z-table. So, we have negative 1.25. So, that is negative 1.2 tapos 0.05. So, kung saan po nagkaroon ng point of intersection, yung negative 1.2 at saka 0.05 po, yun yung magiging value ng ating area po. So, ano yung value ng negative 1.25? Kung titingnan natin, pag binilang natin from this, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, pang-anim.
Pag wala na po, pag alis na po kayo,
Ayan. So, pang-anim yung 0.05. So, dun sa tapat, yung negative 1.2. So, bibilang tayo ng, alamin natin yung ika-anim doon. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, nandito daw po pala yung point of intersection nila. Sorry. Yun yung sinasabi, hindi pala nag-reflect sa screen ninyo yung pinapresent ko. Pasensya na po. Ayan. So again, yun, paggamit po ng z-table, so meron tayong two page po dito. So isang negative, isang positive. So since ang given sa atin ay negative value, dun sa first page natin yung titingnan. So yung binabanggit ko nga po kanina na ang una nating madedetermine ay yung whole number at saka po yung nasa 10th digit ng decimal value. Tapos po yung hundredths digit ng atin pong z-score, dun po sa first column nyo makikita yun. So if we have negative 1.205, so doon po nag-intersect yung value na yun sa 0.1056. So, ngayon doon po sa ating tinatanong kung ano yung area, gaano kalaki yung portion na to na na-cover natin. So, ang ilalagay nyo lang po dyan ay yung actual value, which is 0.1056. So, another example. So, let's say to the left of z, which is positive 1.54. So this is expressed as probability of z less than 1.54. Check na lang natin sa table. So yung illustration nito, this is the normal curve. So middle value again is equivalent to 0. So saan ko ilolocate ngayon itong 1.54? Sa kanan or kaliwa ng 0?
Kanan po.
Okay po. So since that is positive, so nasa kanan siya. So kanan yung 1.54. Pero, aling portion yung shadan ko dito? Kanan ng 1.54 or kaliwa ng 1.54? So since the direction stated in the given is to the left, so from 1.54 up to the tail ends of the normal curve. So pag yan, lumampas na yung area nyo doon po sa mean natin, ibig sabihin greater than 50% po yung dapat natin na makuha na value. So check muna natin dito. So we have a positive 1.54. So hanapin muna natin yung 1.5. Tapos nag-e-end sa by 4. So pang 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pang 5 yung 0.4 po. So sa tapat ng 1.5, bilang tayo ng 5, I mean 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yung value po ng 1.54 is 0.9382. Nasusundan niyo po?
Opo.
Thank you. So, again, ito yung ating illustration kanina. 0, 1.54. Okay. So, yung portion na nasada natin is equivalent to 93 or 0.0938. Wait lang. Ayan. So, ganun lang pag less than max. Walang computation. You just have to really look at the value on the table. So, pag ang example naman is to the right yung instruction. So, you have to use the second rule. So, yan. Nakastate dyan. So, itong pag greater than, sa right yung equivalency niya. So, before you can find the exact value of a certain z-score, you have to employ or utilize this formula, which is 1 minus p of z less than a. So let's try to answer this. This is right of z is equivalent to 1.34. So this is represented as probability of z greater than 1.34. So in the illustration, this is again 0. Positive yung value natin. So we have here 1.34. Tapos po, dahil kanan daw nung 1.34. So from 1.34 going to the right po, yung pagsa-shade na natin. Ayan. So less than 0.5 po yung makukuha natin na value dito. So now, yung ating rule number 2 po, state there that probability of z greater than a is equivalent to 1 minus probability of z less than a. So if this is our statement that we have probability of z greater than 1.34, so we can write this as 1 minus probability of z less than 1.34. So, hanapin muna natin yung value ng 1.34, then evaluate natin yung formula. Okay. So, 1.34. 1.304. Ano pong value noon? Sabi po.
.9099.
.9.
Okay po. That is correct. So we have 0.9099. So 1 minus 0.9099. So, evaluate natin yon. Kunin natin ang difference ng 1 at saka 90.99. So, ang atin pong probability ay equivalent lang sa 0.0901. Ito na po ang sagot. So, try to answer this. C is equivalent to, or C to the right of Z is equivalent to 1.